That's a little Trump salute. That's the way he does it with his little hands, isn't it? Just like that.
Oh, mate, Richard. Good morning to the world. Good morning, UK. Good morning, America. God bless America. Richard, I've woke up this morning and it feels like Brexit Day all over again. And, oh, mate, what a wonderful result. What a wonderful result for the world.
And democracy. Because, look, let's get it right. There were people there that were trying to make it almost impossible. Well, they were trying to kill him, weren't they? I mean, because they knew there's only Trump could have done this. There's only Trump can do what he's got to do in the next 4 years in the realms of the United States of America. And I mean, this is just the beginning of the battle, because he's going to have to start digging into that deep state again. He's going to have to clear out the FBI, clear out the CIA, clear out all those departments in his government. And, you know, we need to watch what he does and learn from him, because it's our turn next, Paul.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, look, first of all, for any Americans watching this today or catching up with it later on, let me explain something to you guys, because it's very important to know. You have been our best allies for 100 years or more, and we are cousins. We're like brothers and sisters. And please don't look at the UK and think that we wanted this rotten communist socialist government that we've got. Less than the population of our capital city alone voted this rotten government in. We stand with you, and we hope that your president will stand with us and that you'll stand with us. We want to be free. Be proud, America. You voted for freedom. You voted for good versus evil. You've done the right thing.
Totally. I mean, I got up, I think it was about 4 o'clock, and I just turned the TV on. And you just knew, you could tell by those solemn faces, because I thought I could watch GB News, but they're not going to be a good indicator of what's really going on. Watch Sky News and the BBC, because if they've got all, there's an expression in Northern Ireland, they all had a face like a Lurgan spade, and a Lurgan spade is a dirty old sullen spade. They were all looking miserable as sin. They all looked like the granny had just died. It was superb. And I was just sitting there going, if they're looking like that, that means Trump's winning. And then,
Richard, at 4 a.m., I woke up, switched my phone on, had a quick look on the BBC, because I was doing the same. They were reporting at 4 o'clock that it was neck and neck.
Too close to call.
I mean, Richard, do me a favour. I mean, who do these lefty morons think they're kidding? At 4 a.m. in the morning, the election is over. The result is pretty much done and dusted. They're not going to change the result by denying it.
Exactly. It doesn't matter what they do. I mean, Trump has got a landslide. It's not like he's just won, but it's like a rout. He's completely routed the loony left in America. And Kamala, for all her smiles and all her inane babbling, the American public, God bless them, they didn't buy it. They did the right thing, and they have done the right thing. And you know what's really encouraging? There's, by all accounts, listening to the commentators, there's loads of Latinos voted for Trump. There's loads of black people voted for Trump. Even the Muslims up in Dearborn were voting for Trump, right? And some of them are very radical. So people get this. They get that Trump is the last hope for Western civilization, and that's what's at stake here. It's not. I'm not coming here to gloat at the lefties. I don't care about the lefties. I'm sick of them. But
I've got to admit, I'll have a little gloat.
Okay, I'm gloating as well.
I'm almost tempted to tune into James O'Brien this morning.
Do you know, we should. It's a pity we couldn't get on the show, isn't it? But oh man, or get him on our show. Give him a bit of his own medicine.
Oh, he's blocked me. He blocked me. I only posted a tweet to him once, and he blocked me.
Listen. I mean, that shows the measure of the man, doesn't it? Anyone who blocks him on Twitter is very, very. They haven't got too many arguments if they're blocking you on Twitter. But no, it's fantastic. It's really good news, and it's good news for the whole world because look, you look at Israel and Iran. That's on a knife edge. Those mullahs are going to be praying this morning, going, "Come on, Allah, where were you? Why didn't you show up? This isn't the guy we wanted in." So the mullahs will be very, very scared. I think Putin will be thinking, okay, I've got a bit of a problem now here in Ukraine. So I think, and Rocket Man as well. It'll be interesting to see what Rocket Man does, But I'm not talking. I talked about Rocket Man this morning, and my wife said, "Why are you digging Elon Musk out?" I said, "I'm not on about that Rocket Man. It's another Rocket Man. It's the one in North Korea, So Rocket Man's going to be nervous. The other Rocket Man, Elon Musk, is going to be absolutely buzzing, So it is a great day. Do you know what? I went to bed last night. I was thinking, do you know what? I just thought if she wins, it's just going to be so. It's grey and miserable here in Northern Ireland. But do you know what, Paul? It's sunny on the inside, mate.
Absolutely, 100%. And something else that's very interesting. I mean, wouldn't you just love to be a fly on the wall at number 10 this morning?
Oh,
can you imagine? Can you even imagine?
Well, I think David Lammy may well be, there may be a cabinet reshuffle, and David Lammy may end up, I don't know, the cleaner or something,
Well, do you mean this one?
Dishes.
After things like this, that Trump won't forget UK's Lammy calling him a racist. UK Foreign Secretary addresses calling Trump a neo-Nazi sympathising sociopath.
That's good diplomacy.
UK Labour to Trump, let's be friends. How about piss off?
Yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, look, the bottom line is it's an interesting one because it's a pity we didn't get our act together before this election. And we all know there's a lot of reasons for that. But boy, we need to get our act together now. With the British right we need to get our act together. And I did a video about it earlier on. We need to stop the infighting. We need to stop the bickering. We need to start loving each other, and we need to start, building bridges across this wide coalition. I would say anyone from Suella Braverman right the way across the board. Some of the right-wing Tories, Rees Moggs, Reform people, UKIPers. We need to build a really strong coalition because I tell you what, there's not one party who'll do it, Paul, and that's why the pledge is so important.
Absolutely.
I don't care. People can talk about Reform, people can talk about the Tories, people can talk about UKIP. There needs to be a coming together, and a lot of egos need to be killed. A lot of egos need to die. And, we're different to the Americans. America gravitate towards a strong man and a figurehead. I think the Brits want common sense and logic and something that's going to bring peace and harmony. That's what I think. That's what English people like. And I said it earlier, Paul. I think the next election for us, it's going to be about immigration, the economy, and security. That's the three things that are going to make a difference. Yeah. And whatever party or parties can get their act together, and it has to be a right-wing agenda. It has to be dealing with all the issues that we're going to face, and whatever that looks like, that needs to happen. And do you know what, Paul? We're on a few groups, aren't we? WhatsApp groups, some really influential people, and there's all backwards and forwards. That's actually working really well because there's no rivalry in those groups. We're all going, there's Reform in there, there's a couple of Tories in there, there's UKIPers in there, and everybody's getting on with it, saying, right, what do we do? How do we do this? So that needs to be. That's our priority now. Is learning
the bigger picture. The bigger picture.
Yeah. The
bigger picture.
Absolutely. The bigger picture. Learning from what the Americans have done. And I watched Steve Bannon, right? Steve Bannon, and I thought about Tommy. Steve Bannon has just come out of prison, right? And it was a video of him. He's got this long he's 70-year-old. He looks like a sort of overweight version of Braveheart or something. He's got this long flowing white hair. He looks like kind of something out of Lord of the Rings, and he's sitting there just growling at people and just saying, this is what we're going to do, and we're going to take. And I thought, that's what we need. And when Tommy comes out, not that Tommy will have long grey hair, well, I hope he doesn't, but when Tommy comes out, we need him to be a Bannon type figure as well. And so I'm just mega excited, Paul. I think it's a massive win. Well done, Trump. Well done, my mate Don Keith. I don't know if Don's going to get watching this. Don,
Don, brilliant
Don
work.
Keith, and Don was up all night doing a stream. I wasn't well. I think I got that chest infection thing you had, Paul. I was wiped out.
Oh, it's rough. There's so many ramifications here down the line. I mean, free speech, but I mean, Voice of Wales, I believe, bless their hearts, lost their YouTube channel yesterday.
Yep.
All this potentially could ride on Trump being in charge. Free speech for everyone, whatever side you're on. Free speech, freedom.
That will be a done deal. That'll be a done deal because Trump will sanction those social media companies. He will do the opposite to what our lot are doing. Our lot are trying to sanction them for allowing free speech. He'll sanction them if they're not allowing free speech. So there's so much to play at this, and so much involved. I mean, the excitement will wear off. There'll be listen. They're not going to give up easy. They're going to go after him. They're going to go after him in courts. They're going to go after him. They may try, you never know. These scumbags may try and assassinate him again.
That's the worry I have. That is a real worry.
If they do, but the thing is, if they even if the worst happened, and this is why, in our movement, we have to almost move away from massive personalities and move towards a movement where if you get taken out, or anybody else that's prominent gets taken out, the movement still continues on, because of the ideology, and that's why I keep coming back to the pledge all the time. But I think what's happened in America is so consequential for world history. I think if Kamala had got him, we could have been looking down the barrel of World War III. I really do, because this is what I think will happen internationally with did I say Obama there? Not Obama.
No. Kamala. Yeah.
Kamala. I think we're looking down the barrel of World War III. I mean, Russia. You can only push Russia so far. They've got 6,000 nuclear weapons. If you genuinely try to topple Putin, he's going to react. I think what Trump will do with Putin, Trump will go to him and say, right, you've got an ultimatum. You either come to the table with me, you call an immediate ceasefire, you come to the table, or I will pour loads of weapons and money into Ukraine, and we will do a number on you. And if you come to the table, we'll do a deal. We'll bring you back into the tent. We'll get something sorted out, and we'll see how it goes. I think that's what Trump will do. And it's the same with Iran. With Iran, Trump will now strangle the money that money that was going to Iran will stop as soon as January the 1st comes, or whenever it is that he gets inaugurated. That money to Iran will stop, and that'll stop the funding of the terrorism right the way throughout the Middle East. So it's a great day for world peace. And I think the difficulty is going to be getting through the next few months with Biden still in the White House, crazy Kamala still in the White House. What damage can they actually do? Because it's not. I think with the Democrats, they're not like the normal Democratic Party that you had in the 80s and 90s with the Clintons.
Well, same as the Labour Party.
Yeah, they're radicalized. These people are completely radicalized. They're completely far left, and we're still in dangerous territory, Paul. We're still in dangerous territory, even though he's won and he's won big. I believe there will be some sort of crisis or international incident that will try and eclipse this and push us to a position that we don't want to be in. So it could be Ukraine, it could be the Middle East. But I don't think these globalist scumbags are done with us by any means. This is a victory, but we need to put it in context and say, yes, it's a massive victory, but we need to see this all over the free world. Well, the once free world, the free world that's been taken over. China's not going to be happy with this. Iran's not going to be happy with this. All the enemies of democracy and freedom are not going to be happy with this.
Joseph Robertson, that was on the channel a couple of weeks back, he had it right. We got to make communism a dirty word again, and this is what we're fighting: communism.
Absolutely, and I think the other thing is, Paul, what people don't realize is the insidious nature of communist influence over the institutions in the United Kingdom. There's 3 or 4 different. How do you describe ideologies vying for position in the UK? One's communism, and obviously the Chinese Communist Party has massive influence. And then there's the old communists, the old socialist lefties. They've got massive influence. And then of course you've got the Islamists, and then you've got the globalists who are in bed with the communists and the Chinese anyway. So these are the things that we're fighting. And I don't think I hope it never comes to a shooting war or a violent war, because these are ideas, and bad ideas have to be overcome by good ideas. Yeah. And again, what ticks that box? The pledge. I know I'm like an old beaten drum, but I think it's really important that we hammer that home, that this is a battle of ideas. And if we don't have any ideas, the far right, the far left, and the religious nut jobs, they will impose their ideas on us. Yeah. And that's what we've that's
time to come together and unite. Jimbo, thank you very much. Thank God Trump won. Great news. Kears 10, Kamala Harris losing is the rejection of identity politics. Yep. She ran as a black woman and she couldn't even get the black vote. Spot on. KG Tiggs, thank God Trump at last a happy day. Thanks, Angie. I mean, that is, where does that leave our relationship with the United States?
Well, I mean, I think that the problem that we've got, Paul, this is the problem that the UK's got. It seems to me that all the institutions, including the security services, including the Foreign Office, including the civil service, and obviously the government, have been taken over by the left. So the relationship will go on. But I'd say there's probably more problems on our side than there is on the American side. What Trump will be doing now, Trump will be cleaning house. So Trump will be getting rid of all these people that have caused the problems in the past that he couldn't even get rid of when he took his, when he had his first term in office. Now, as far as I know, what Trump's done is he's been very clever, and he's literally got not just a shadow cabinet waiting to go, but he's got a shadow, they don't call it a civil service, but a shadow equivalent of our civil service, ready to plug in and take control of those institutions in America. Now, we're nowhere near even getting out of the starting blocks with that, and every time I've spoken to a politician about that, they say, oh, we'll get power and then we'll worry about it. Well, Trump realized when he won in 2016 that he had to have those people ready to take over the institutions, waiting in the wings to come in and fill all those positions. And that's what we need. We need to, to basically have people ready in the wings for when we get our go to basically fill all those posts. So I think in terms of British-American relations, there's always going to be that link. There's always that military link anyway. That's deep and long-lasting. But I think there'll be a problem because of the left-wing nutcases that are running our country, Paul, to be honest with you. Not because of us. We're friends with a lot of Trump supporters. As you know, we've got connections across the pond. But it's the deep state in the UK and the government in the UK that are the problem at the minute. And I think they're going to try and make a mug out of Trump, I think. They're saying that they want to be his friend, but I think every opportunity they get, they'll be, well, we don't really support what America's doing. I don't think it's going to be like Blair and Bush, where they had that bond after 9/11. I think if another 9/11 happened, right, I think it'd be very difficult to get Britain to go and do what they did after 9/11. And I think the invasion of Iraq was wrong, but you know what I mean? It's going to be difficult to build those sort of coalitions for all sorts of reasons. So I think
Vance and Trump are big fans of the UK, I believe.
They are.
What potentially would their first message be? By the way, we've got nearly 7,000 people watching.
Wow.
At 20 past 10 on a Wednesday morning. Fantastic. Please hit the upvote button, guys. What should their first message to David Lammy be? If you was Donald Trump, or actually, let's rephrase that. What are you hoping that Donald Trump's first conversation with Starmer will sound like?
Well, I would say if I was, obviously I'm biased because I know what's going on in the UK. Good thing is Elon Musk knows what's going on. I don't know how much Trump's across it because obviously he's a lot on his plate. Elon Musk's on this. And if I was Elon, I'd be saying to Trump, if you're talking to those guys in the UK, tell them, yes, we'd love to do a trade deal with you. We'd love to have more business with you. But unless you start backing up, or unless you stop attacking people's free speech and putting people in prison for putting stuff on social media and passing these draconian laws that are against free speech, we're going to be keeping a bit of distance. So in other words, Trump can put pressure on domestic issues. It doesn't have to be done overtly. It can be done very subtly. So I would hope that Trump was saying, we still love the people of the United Kingdom, but we really don't like your policies. We don't like the direction that your government's going in. And that's going to be reflected, just like Barack Obama did. If you remember, Barack Obama came across during the Brexit thing and said, well, if you vote for Brexit, you're going to be at the back of the queue when it comes to a trade deal. So the problem we've got is that, you know, the disastrous election that we've just had, and, you know,
Yeah.
so the biggest self-harm in British political history, to be honest with you, putting those absolute nutcases in power. But what's happening?
And when you think, sorry, Richard, when you think
Yeah.
about that stat, that less than the population of London put this bloody government in power, it's mind-boggling.
It's our fault. I mean, we all have joint blame in this. Let's say, you know, Reform weren't ready for the election. You know, that they didn't have a voter plan, they didn't have a strategy. Nigel just popped up and said, let's all vote Reform. And even if Reform hadn't have stood, I think that the result would have been probably similar, because nobody wanted to vote for the Tories. So it's the Tories' fault. It's Reform's fault for splitting the vote and not having a strategy. It's UKIP's fault for not having the house in order. So every single party on the right is to blame for this, and we're to blame as well, because you know, we have got our part to play, and we've got to get serious. The reason I'm saying this is not to dig Reform out or dig UKIP out or dig the Conservatives out. The reason I'm saying this, we've got to get our house in order and get our act together. And like, there's such, I don't know about you, Paul, the last few weeks with Tommy going to prison, and everything that's gone on, all the political prisoners, and Peter Lynch dying, I've got a sense of urgency that if we don't do this in the next 5 years, our country's finished. We've got 5 years to save the country. And where I think the Americans come in, we need to start building alliances with the mega people, or the MAGA people, for the mega people that make England great. We've got to start building these alliances with the Americans and learning from them and saying, listen, guys, we're an important strategic ally with you guys. Will you talk to Tommy? Will you talk to UKIP? Will you talk to Reform? Will you talk to, you know, people on the right of the Conservative Party, and teach us how we can actually do what you've done? Because
what does that mean, Richard? What does it mean? Yorkshire Tea, PMQs will be interesting. They will. Pierre Harp, is that Paul Harp? Keir Starling, a strong man. I've heard he likes a strong. Thank you very much, British born and bred. What does it mean for Nigel Farage this morning?
Oh, I mean, his stock's just risen massively. Two things have gone massively and again, it's probably, I don't know whether it's a good thing or a bad thing, because, as you know, I've got massive question marks over Nigel. But I think two things. It means, first of all, his stock has just risen massively, because his pal, I mean, let's get it right, Trump Trump and Farage are thick. I mean, they're buddies. Do you know what I mean? And so that's massive for Nigel and for Reform. And then, of course, Kemi Baden not getting elected. With all the best will in the world, I don't believe for a minute that Kemi is the right wing acolyte that we need to lead conservatism. So I think Farage is in a strong, very, very strong position. And
Let me just bring Andrew Bridgen. Good morning. Thank you for joining us on this wonderful morning.
I'm sure we've none of us have had much sleep last night. It was really quite exciting, wasn't it?
How do you feel? How do you feel this morning, Andrew?
I'm delighted. I'm delighted for America. I'm delighted for the freedom and justice-loving people around the world. Now it's all about Trump and his team delivering on the promises. But I'm not convinced that that the globalists have finished with their plotting. They may. I mean, he's due to be sentenced later this month. I mean, that could be some sort of plan to disbar him, I'm not. I pray it's not true, but I mean, there's nothing to stop another assassination attempt, and God forbid. But I think what we did see last night, and what we will see as the final results come in, is that we've got a result that's resounding enough for Trump that it will not be legally challenge the result itself. I'm hoping that Kamala Harris will gracefully accept defeat and concede, and we can move forward. But the other difference is, unlike the UK, Trump doesn't go into power straight away. He's got until the 6th of January. Yeah. And I think a lot of mischief could be created in that time, and we could see perhaps a scorched earth strategy by the Democrats, which would be very detrimental to not only the US, but also us, especially if it was to do with the economy, as I suspect it might well be.
Because all these dirty tricks from the left, they've escalated to a whole new level in recent times, haven't they? A whole new level. But I want to try and be, optimistic this morning, Andrew. Best case scenario. What does Trump's election mean for us in the UK?
Well, I mean, on many levels, the USA is the country that the UK is most closely linked to historically, linguistically, and economically. We never were aligned with the economic cycles of the European Union. Even when we were a member, we were always far more closely aligned to the American economy. I mean, you can remember people quite rightly used to say, if America sneezes, UK catches double pneumonia. So the best case scenario is that there's a seamless transition and Trump delivers on his promises. You're going to see an end to the net zero policies in the US, which will make energy prices cheaper, that have a deflationary effect across the whole economy. Food prices will get cheaper because it's so energy intensive. And that will put pressure on other governments around the world to see reality. Also, the US government is a major funder of institutions who've been seeking to gain extra power, such as the United Nations, the WHO. And if the US did what Trump did last time and defunded the WHO, I mean, their plans would be completely scuppered for the pandemic treaty and the amendments to international health regulations, which really isn't getting any coverage in the mainstream media over here. And of course, if we've got Robert Kennedy Jr., if Trump does place him in a position where he can be unleashed upon big pharma and the biomedical institutions, I'm absolutely convinced that the truth about what big pharma have done with the vaccines and many other medications will be exposed within a matter of months, if not weeks. And then we can get back to proper science-based medicine and ethics-based medicine. And that's going to be absolutely fantastic. And I think America is so important to the free world that the tsunami, the political tsunami, will storm across the Atlantic, and it will wipe away minor figures such as Starmer and even Kemi Badenoch in the wake. And that's what I'd like to see.
A question for both of you. Given the so-called special relationship between our countries, and given David Lammy's previous remarks, I mean, odious remarks, I mean, you can't just wipe them away and go, oh, no problem. I mean, is it possible that down the line, I mean, I might be talking stupid here, but is it possible that Starmer might even be forced into some kind of reshuffle?
Oh, I think it would be very wise to get rid of David Lammy as Foreign Secretary, for British interests. Whether he'll do it or not, it's a different story. But I mean, it would make a lot of sense, because I don't think people talk about Trump being very gracious. I don't think he's going to forget those sort of comments and just go, oh yeah, just welcome him into, and speak to the Secretary of State. I don't think that's going to happen.
Well, I think Trump he's got a history of being betrayed by those around him. I don't think he's going to respond. He hasn't got another term to look forward to, so he is elected as a lame duck president who's going to want to deliver and be remembered and leave a legacy. And but what I would say about David Lammy is, and it doesn't take much working out. I mean, however stupid you think he is, I mean, I've worked with him, in contact with him for 14 years. He is more stupid than you think he is. And he fits well into that Labour front bench, because I'm actually convinced that if they all chucked in together, they wouldn't pass the old 11 plus, quite honestly. So, I mean, it's just dire. I mean, surely you can see that they're all stooges of some greater force, some higher power, when we constantly get this level of dross of politicians elected in the UK on both sides of the House. I mean, it's not an accident, is it? I mean, there are far better qualified and motivated individuals out there doing jobs, and they could make very good MPs, but we end up with this lot, and then you wonder why. Well, we got one speaking right now.
Yeah, well,
I've already sussed out, Paul, and thinking about it, you can tell whatever lie. I've seen it. People can say whatever lies they want in the chamber of the House of Commons, and they'll gather around you and support you. But you try and speak the truth, and you're on your own, mate. I mean, that's that. Yeah. I've been travelling around the country speaking, and people recognise me at filling stations all over the country or wherever I am. And they say, "Oh, you're a bit of a hero, and you've done really well, Andrew." I don't know these people; I've never met them before. They've just seen me on the telly or the videos. And I actually said to them, "Well, what a lamentable state of affairs, where an elected member of Parliament is thought to be something special because you just told the truth. And what a state of our politics." And I hope that Trump is going to lead a charge away from that level of deceit, and he's going to do it. He's got to deliver on his promises. He unleashes Robert Kennedy Jr. When you're talking about people's lives being harmed by the current medical system and big pharma, I mean, there is no time to hang about. I mean, the lives are at stake. And I posted on social media the other day that Kemi Badenoch wrote an article in the Telegraph a couple of years ago, urging pregnant women that the COVID-19 experimental vaccines were safe for them and they should all take them. The current guidance from Pfizer in their inserts on the boosters today is that there's no evidence, there isn't insufficient evidence to make a decision on whether they're safe for pregnant women in 2024.
Wow.
Now, either Badenoch is bad enough, she's either completely stupid in the sort of David Lammy league, doesn't do any research, or
she's not that stupid,
or she's complicit. And any of those outcomes, she's unfit ever to be prime minister. She's not fit to lead a political party. But then Starmer's not fit to be prime minister, and David Lammy's clearly not fit to be foreign secretary. And I think the less said about Rachel Reeves, probably the better.
I suppose the question is, Andrew, what do we do then, Andrew? Because obviously we've got all this energy. I mean, you've been to the events that we've put on. We're getting tens of thousands of people coming out on the street, and you can probably multiply that by 10 at least of the people that would come but are scared to come. We've got all these social media things, these little groups all over the country. How can we pull? Because we're talking about this. How do we pull all that together? And we've got the pledge, which we think.
Well, there's going to be. I think it's going to be issues. The answers are not going to come from the House of Commons. It's going to be the last place to admit even to the problems we've got that the people already know well about. The farmers' protest, I think it's the 19th of November. I mean, the farmers have got the kit and they're going to be angry enough. And with the public support, no farmers, no food. This could be a moment where we could flex our peacefully, law-abidingly flex our muscles on an issue that affects everybody, because we all need food and we all need food security. So there's going to be opportunities. And also, I think the tsunami, the political tsunami of delivering for the people will show governments up around the world for what they are, and their lack of action to deliver for the public. And it's been going on under the Conservatives, and it's been going on now, accelerating under the Labour Party over here. But it's happening in so many countries around the world. I think we're on the watershed, and I'm optimistic.
Yeah. Over 9,000 people watching live, which is currently almost 3 times the amount that Sky News has watching live. I love this one.
I watched. I was actually watching the election results on Redacted last night. I do love them, and but I did flick onto some of the mainstream media channels, and quite honestly, Paul, I mean, the commentators watching Trump storm it. They had faces as sad as they reminded me of a sort of a one-legged man invited to an arse-kicking competition. They didn't look very happy.
I love this.
Similar already, Andrew. I mean, yeah, totally.
David Brittle, thank you very much. Who do you think you are kidding, Mr. Starmer? If you think we're on the run, we are the people who will stop your little game. Because who do you think you are kidding, Mr. Starmer? If you think old England's done. Go Trump. Nice one, Darren. Brilliant. Thank you very much. Thank you. No other name. Morning, guys. Praise God. Trump is in. Andrew, I was just talking to to Richard before you hopped on. What does this do for Nigel Farage's stock and his position?
Well, by association, he's loosely associated to Trump. He hasn't been out there this time, but I'm afraid. I mean, I know that Reform are not the answer. I mean, they are as managed, I'm afraid, as the other parties. So they are not the answer. Nigel didn't want to get involved when I asked him 2 years ago to help me stop the government from vaccinating the babies in the UK with the experimental vaccines. He refused to get involved, and he knew all about it because he told me he wasn't going to speak about the vaccines, and he warned me that if I knew what was good for me, I wouldn't be speaking about them either. Well, that's no leadership for me. That's cowardice.
So what is politically, what is the answer, Andrew? Because we've got to get this Labour lot out, at the first opportunity. It can't be. We've got a
choice. I'm thinking it's going to take a long. We haven't got lots of years, but we've got to keep Trump alive and keep him delivering, and that influence will be very beneficial around the world. We've got to take the existential threat away from us by getting these two major conflicts, one in the Middle East and Ukraine, in Europe. We've got to get those resolved, so it takes that existential threat away from us, and quite honestly, we're going to have to either take over from the inside, either Reform or the Conservative Party.
That is my belief. Yeah,
we could either. Well, the alternative we've got is either form a new party altogether, and I know that the regulators, the Electoral Commission, everything will not be helpful. The banks will not be helpful with getting a bank account, and the mainstream media then gives as an excuse to give you no coverage whatsoever. So we've got to decide what we want to do. Either set a totally new party up and expose them for what they are, which is quite a long game, or we just take over from the inside by getting our supporters just to join a political party, and we just usurp it from the inside and bring it back to what it should be. And I'm quite happy to talk to whoever wants to deliver that.
Yeah, I mean, we've got. I mean, that's what we were saying earlier. We've basically got the right wing of the Conservative Party. We've got the decent people in Reform, and again, Paul knows my opinions on Nigel and the people that are running Reform, and we have got UKIP as well, and we've got people in UKIP on the NEC of UKIP. So
the reformers I know at the Grassroots are salt of the earth. But totally. I mean, they are lions led by donkeys, and
Rupert Wells, Ramu Nuja, sorry if I haven't pronounced that right. Trump, thank you. Trump voter in Texas, USA here. I follow both your channels and applaud both your courage standing as vanguard leaders of the cultural movement in the UK. Make the pledge, be a uniting force to bring all walks of life together in your land. Thank you very much, Robert. Really appreciate that. And congratulations, Mr. Wolf. God bless Trump. Jackie, so good to wake up to good news and have that feel-good factor. Congratulations, Donald. Absolutely. Jane, JF, fantastic news. Love you both. Paul and Richard, keep up the good work. Thank you very much. Go on, boys, carry on.
Yeah.
Can you imagine the pressure it's going to put on UK politicians if Trump does start deporting illegal migrants? And bear in mind, there's a clue there in the title, isn't it? Illegal migrants.
Illegal.
Exactly.
Illegal. People who are not entitled through their illegal actions of breaking into our country without authorization, not entitled to go into our asylum system. But you see, have you not realized that's why we send the lifeboat, the RNLI, out and rescue them from sea halfway out, because that makes it impossible to deport them, because they're effectively then rescued from sea. And there are other laws, Paul, about rescuing people from danger at sea, which means you can't deport them. That's exactly what we're doing. Yeah. I mean, it's pathetic. It's pathetic. And the politicians of both major parties are treating the public as absolute. Well, they think we're as stupid as David Lammy. Well, unfortunately, we're not.
Yeah.
What do you think? What do you think if you was at a meeting in Number 10 this morning, guys? Right. What do you think the conversation around the cabinet table is going to be?
Panic, I'd have thought.
Yeah, that was my I think they're
one of
already
those,
sitting
it's
there. Yeah, they're going to be looking at each other going, what the hell do we do now?
Yeah. A bit of defensive strategies on the things they know that they've lied to the public about, which are going to be exposed in the next few months. And yeah, that's going to be very nervous. Very, very
And
nervous.
the biggest lie of all, the biggest cover-up of all, the biggest scandal of all, I believe will be revealed in January. When the Southport case goes to court.
And but also, in the meantime, you know, Starmer has already threatened now that he wants to expedite, you know, mandating digital IDs. We've got to resist this. That's another issue that could unite the public. We've got to get into the mainstream media that we don't want this. It's a major assault on freedoms and democracy. And, you know, I don't know if you recall that a few weeks ago, Starmer threatened mandatory medication in return for benefits, where he said that anyone who was obese or overweight, which is a lot of us, if you're on benefits, you'd have to take Ozempic, that new weight loss drug, which has got massive side effects. I mean, half of what you're losing is muscle. That's no good for you. Using half muscle, half fat. Well, I mean, it's just going to be debilitating. Well, I mean, preparing the public for mandatory medication. If the government says you've got to take, I mean, that's a complete breach of the Nuremberg Code, the Helsinki Agreement, and we're back into sort of COVID times of mandates. Unpalatable.
Here's an important message. Thanks very much for this. The Casual Gamer. Away from Trump for a moment, are we not going to do something about the Palestinian march in Birmingham this Remembrance Sunday? Not sure what we can do, but what I will say is this, is that I don't believe this march has anything to do with Palestine. I believe it's all about flexing. It's about displaying their hatred for this country, their anti-British ways, and a total disregard for the one day of the year that we ask for a little bit of respect.
I expect there to be a response. I expect there'll be a response in Birmingham. I don't know what form that will take, but I think there'll certainly be a response from the good people of Birmingham to that. Because I mean, it's like what happened on Armistice Day last year, when tens of thousands of people went to the cenotaph to defend the cenotaph because they threatened to do exactly the same thing. That march was going to go past the cenotaph, and they only changed it because Tommy and a few others said, right, if you're going to do that, then we're going to put tens of thousands of people on. And we did put tens of thousands of people on the street. There was probably 15,000 people went to the cenotaph, and on the whole, it was a very peaceful. I was there. You don't believe what they say in the media. It was a very peaceful situation. The only aggravation came from the police attacking protesters. So So
the question is, what point are they trying to prove?
Who you talking about, the Islamists or
the Palestinian mob? What are they trying to prove by trying to overshadow the most important day of the year for us?
It's domination. It's not just the Islamists. It's the Islamists and the Socialist Workers' Party, and it's about domination. It's about flexing. It's about trying to show, well, we're controlling the country now. And that's why any response has to be peaceful. It has to be measured. It has to be lawful. Has to be very, very. Because remember, that's Remembrance Day as well. I think if these things weren't being done on Remembrance Day, there would be a lot more visceral response. But you're not going to have patriots going out and having a row on Remembrance Day. So anything that happens in Birmingham has to be very restrained, very respectful. And if I was in Birmingham, and it's too late for me to get over even, but if I was in Birmingham, I would get a whole lot of other veterans, medals on, and stand by the side of the road. With our backs to their march as it goes past, and maybe even have a bugler playing the last post, and just bow our heads, in disgust at what's happening, and do it very, very respectfully. Something like that, something that shows that we're disgusted with what they're doing, but also shows that we're not disrespecting our war dead, and we're not going to let them hijack the event. But I think there does need to be a peaceful, lawful response to it, without a shadow of a doubt. And I think Birmingham will stand up to do something, hopefully along those lines.
Mark Bowman, thank you.
I think we're a very tolerant country, and people do have the right to protest. I've been on a lot more protests in the last 4 years than I ever thought I probably would do, and I do have some sympathy, a lot of sympathy actually, with the worst situation that's going on in Gaza. However, the way these people conduct themselves, and they do disrespect our culture and our history. They're not endearing themselves, and it does seem to be bully boy tactics and saying that basically we're untouchable. Two-tier policing and justice, as we've seen, we are a very tolerant country, and one thing we don't do in this country is we don't make anyone who doesn't like this country stay here. And if you don't like this country and you'd rather live in a country with different values and a different culture, then I just suggest that they leave.
Well, I mean, you've hit the nail on the head there, Andrew. I mean, look, who doesn't have empathy and sympathy for, children being killed in Gaza? Does anyone think that we want to see that? Does anyone think that we enjoy that? Does anyone think that we take pleasure out of that? Absolutely, of course not. Like I said a minute ago, it's got nothing to do with what's happening in Gaza. This is about them flexing on our streets. And that's why the British public have simply had enough.
And those people in this country intimidating the Jewish community or attacking synagogues or the Jewish community on the streets of our country has no effect on what's happening in Gaza whatsoever, and should never be allowed to happen.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I mean, I went to, I think probably one of the first pro-Israel, pro-Jewish demonstrations in Parliament Square, and the fear and the absolute horror on the faces of our Jewish neighbours and friends was, I mean, some of the photographs I took, I look at them from time to time. There's a woman, and she's about mid-40s, and her face is just haunted, and it looks like she's thinking the Holocaust about happening again. And she's right, because if these people that did what they did in Gaza got the chance to do it in London or Birmingham against the Jewish communities, they would do it. And this is what people have got to understand: they would do it, and they wouldn't hold back. And the Jewish people I know, I've got a lot of Jewish friends. They're absolutely terrified of what's happening, and it's disgusting that our Jewish neighbours are in that position where they're living in fear. They're not out in Israel fighting against Hamas. They're just living their lives, running businesses, providing services to fellow Brits, and they've been treated in a disgusting way.
And the
guys, I just want to show. Sorry, go on, Andrew.
The worrying thing is, I've got friends in New York who are Jewish, and they've had exactly the same intimidation from protests out in America. Again, it would appear that the whole world's in lockstep again on something which we fundamentally know shouldn't be allowed to be happening, but it is.
Can I just run past you guys something that appeared in my local newspaper this week? In fact, just a couple of nights ago. I want you to look at this. This is from a so-called trainee journalist down at the Brighton Argos who thought it was clever to write this article. Let me just pop that up on screen. Look, Lewis Bonfire, Nigel Farage is featured in riot-inspired effigy. Now, they thought that this was suitable to put in the local paper, that some lefty mob somewhere had built an effigy of Nigel Farage and they were going to burn it on Bonfire Night. What message is this sending out?
I think it looks quite cool, actually, to be honest with you, Paul. I think it's a pretty good effigy.
It's been done very well, but I mean, seriously, is this not exactly what they accuse us of being? This is inspiring hate.
I think the problem is, I mean, we do have a tradition in this country, probably quite rightly, of holding politicians in rather contempt. I mean, if we go back to 300 years, so they were the subject of rather nasty cartoons depicting them in various positions and various speech bubbles coming out of them. I think, as I remember, from members' tea room upwards, all 3 floors of that staircase have got them on the walls. And we need.
And I think if it was David Lammy.
What politician? Yes, well, if it was David Lammy, you'd be arrested. We know.
Exactly.
I'm with you, Andrew. I think it's quite funny, and I think if I was Nigel, I think if Nigel saw that, Nigel would have gone to a lot of effort and cost to make a. It's not a bodge job, is it? They've done a lot of work.
No.
If I had a merch site, I'd be selling that on the merch site for sure.
I think my problem with it is twofold. One, if it was David Lammy, you'd end up getting arrested. And 2, why is a local newspaper in a predominantly left-wing city promoting that sort of thing? For me, it doesn't work. I live in Brighton. I find it offensive. You know, if I took one of my grandkids to that firework display and there's an image of a politician of a party that many people might support being burnt at the stake, I just don't think it's a good look. But that's my view.
Well, that town had actually returned a Conservative MP for 9 years, hadn't it?
Yeah,
that was yeah.
I must admit, you see, I'm coloured by living in Northern Ireland, because in Northern Ireland, every 12th of July, there were politicians getting burned left, right, and center. The effigies. Let me just say, the posters and effigies of politicians getting burned on loyalist bonfires up and down the country. So I'm kind of used to it, I suppose.
What always makes me think when I look at it, I've always been like that thought of the Apprentice Boys Parade. It must be a very long apprenticeship, isn't it?
That's it. 300-year long apprenticeship.
Thanks, Craig. Thanks, Jason.
None of the boys, either, Andrew.
It's me, God Laura. Thank you. Acknowledge Jesus. He has the kingdom. I has truly come. Thank you for that, Jason. The Britain Habib party would get my vote. Oh, that would be nice. That would be.
Well, it's interesting. I'm speaking with Ben on Saturday. I'm speaking in Derbyshire on the same platform as Ben. We'll see.
Yeah. Well, we all love Ben. There you go. So, Realm Caster, thank you. I tried to sign your pledge on website, but after entering my mobile, it wouldn't let me submit. We'll have a look at that, but try again. Appreciate that. Guys, we're going to bring this one to an end in just a moment. Thousands of messages coming again. Really appreciate it. So, I mean, look, guys, summing up, great news today for America, great news potentially for the UK. How long do you think, final question, how long do you think it will be before we see any Trump effect on the UK?
Well, I think the fact you're getting crickets from the politicians in Europe and our mainstream media, I don't think it'll be long. And whatever comes out of America, it's going to have to be reported. And I think not only a lot of politicians in Europe and elsewhere will be very worried. There's a lot of journalists are going to be quite worried, and I'm going to enjoy that.
Yeah, me too. Richard?
They're in meltdown already. I was listening to local BBC radio across here in Northern Ireland, and big Stephen Nolan's in an absolute panic already, and he was,
What a lovely man.
Delightful.
Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us this morning. I really appreciate it. Great viewership again, guys. Before you go, please don't forget to hit that upvote button. A massive thank you to one of our favourites, Andrew Bridgen, the regular wonderful Richard Inman, and myself. We'll see you all soon, guys. Have a great day. Thanks for joining us, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.